Welcome to the UK PTs Podcast, where we delve into the world of personal training one episode at a time. Here are your hosts, Joshua Mullin and Mark Laws.
Welcome to episode number 10 of the UK PTs Podcast. I'm Joshua Mullin, and as always with me is my co-host Mark Laws. How you doing, Mark?
Good afternoon, Josh. I'm bloody good, mate. I'm good. The shit has been hitting the fan left, right and centre, but I've been batting it all off and things are looking good.
Dodging the shit as always. Good times. So before we get started, just a thank you, a quick shout out to our two sponsors today. So we've got EMD UK, who are the national governing body for group exercise, and they are also an insurance provider. So I've been recommending EMD UK for quite a while now, and just luckily they reached out to us and got sponsored. So that's all good. And the main reason that we recommend them is great coverage for like a ridiculously cheap price. So if you're a personal trainer, group exercise instructor or sports therapist looking for insurance, then look up EMD UK and there'll be a little link below. Mark, who's our second sponsor?
Second sponsor, as always, Wolverson Fitness. High quality, reasonable prices, bloody good range of stuff, whether you're kitting out a commercial facility or little garage gym or studio, then they are the people for you. I've had a great relationship with them for years. Jason is top bloke, and they have got a lot of stuff that is readily available, but they are also selling stuff like it is going out of fashion, because there's a lot of people out there stocking up on their home gym equipment. So it's worth having a look at the website, UKPT10, to get you 10% discount. And they've got shipments coming in every single week. So if something's not available right now, it will be on its way very soon. So yeah, go take a look at the Wolverson website. And both EMD and Wolverson will be coming on as guests sometime soon, probably in the new year now, won't it be? But they'll be coming on to talk a lot more about what they do and how they can help our listeners.
Sounds good. Love it. I love that we're already getting support from people. You know, I think that I've been really overwhelmed that in only 10 episodes that I don't know about you, but I've had people messaging me saying thank you for the episodes, and we've had some amazing guests, and I just think it's been over 10 weeks. It's been awesome already, and I'm excited for 2021.
Yeah, no, it's been good, mate. To be fair, like considering it was just a like a fly-by-night comment, like should we do a podcast? Yeah, fuck it, let's do it. And it's sort of, yeah, on one hand, it gives us a couple of hours just to kill a bit of time and to chat shop. It's a great way of getting good guests on and sharing information for them. But I agree with you, mate. There's not a week goes by where someone will sort of send me a comment or something, like someone I've not heard from for months or years, and they've clearly listened or had it on in the car and they've been listening, and they'll just sort of send me a sarcastic comment or something like that if I've said something stupid, or if someone messaged me the other day and all it said was someone else who can only have the television on even numbers. So like clearly he was listening back to probably the very first one that we ever did. So it's good. It's nice that there's people listening. And also don't forget like all the messages of support, people sort of saying thank you for X, Y, or Z piece of information, or I listened to you speaking to so-and-so and that's made me change this, which has had this response. So considering it was a bit of a piss take, it's still a piss take, but mildly useful to some people.
I know, right? So, with all that being said, we don't have a guest for today, but we've got a lot of questions from UK PTs, and I also believe from the Pure Gym group as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's from, so we had Nick and Ant on from Pure Gym probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and we had something like 25 questions or problems that came in that people wanted help with. We got through about 5 of them in the 2-hour show. So we're going to work through some of the backlog, probably in like quick fire fashion, rattle through as many as we can, help as many people as possible. So for every one person that had the balls to comment publicly in a group of their peers and put their hand up and state what their problem is, I dare say there's probably another 100 people that have got that same problem. They just either didn't see the post or weren't brave enough to admit something they were struggling with, or they just couldn't be asked to reply, which is usually the case. So yeah, hopefully there'll be a load of stuff in there that will resonate with a lot of people.
Sounds good. So before we get to the UK PT questions, we're going to do a couple of rounds of false, false, true, which is one of our most popular sections of the show. So if you haven't seen the podcast before, we have selected 3 statements, 2 of which are false, 1 is true. And the other person, either myself or Mark, has to decipher which one is the true statement. And instead of doing 1 round, we're going to do 2 rounds each this time. So, woo-hoo.
Yeah,
so.
They only take a few minutes, don't they? So before we chuck a couple in, for the diehard fans who obviously they don't want to hear us do the 27 Club again. They definitely probably don't want to watch us masturbate again. So we thought it was only fair to give them a few minutes of false, false, true, so they can learn a little bit more about us, stuff that they maybe didn't know.
I mean, maybe if people do want to watch us, masturbate more regularly, we could set up an OnlyFans account or something.
Yeah, UK PTs OnlyFans.
Imagine. Oh, horrendous. That would just be so bad. Well,
would we earn more money from it?
Maybe.
Mate, there's a lot of sickos in this world, and somewhere there might be some that want to watch me and you masturbating. They'll probably be disappointed if they tune in and we're just arguing about whether CrossFit's the best thing or the worst thing that's ever happened to the fitness industry. But
this is true.
Never mind. Right, who's going first? Do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll go for round 1, and then you can do round 2, round 3, round 4. We'll alternate, yeah?
Cool beans. Fire away then.
Okay. Number 1, I broke my leg in a skiing accident when I was 19. Number 2, I once had my nose broken by being kicked in the face. Number 3, I hold a junior county record still for the 100-meter sprint from when I was at school.
Ooh.
Right, better than
one of them. One of them's true, yeah?
Yeah, one of them's true. 2 are false.
Right. I know you like to play with your big boy sports, like your martial arts and stuff like that. I think you've tried to throw me. Oh, fucking hell. Sorry, mate. Dog just knocked. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's what happens when you do naughty things, Freya. Sorry. I think you've tried to throw me a kipper here with the 100-meter one. Right, okay, here we go. So, I think you've probably definitely been kicked. Oh, no, hang on. 2 are false.
2 are false, 1 is true.
I think the 100-meter record one is true, although the middle one, the kick in the nose, is the most likely to be true. I think that's a red herring, and I don't think you've ever been skiing in your life. You've probably never even seen snow.
I'm afraid you are incorrect, Mark.
Fuck it.
So when I was 14, I was in a karate competition, and I'd watched one too many movies. And I went in with my guard down here, and the guy I was fighting was a black belt, and he kicked me 6 times in the face and broke my nose. 6 successive kicks, boom, 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 in my face.
Cracking reflexes.
Yes, and I didn't even move. I was just like, and then I fell down.
Mum, I don't want to do karate no more.
Yeah, luckily it set quite well. But you are actually correct that I've never ever been skiing.
Me neither.
But I have seen snow. So I have. Yeah, it's quite.
Well, that was a long shot by me. That was my outside wild card bet. No, I've never been skiing. Do you want to know why I've never been skiing?
Why is that?
Because I'm such a bellend. When I was like 13 or 14, a load of my mates went on the first ski trip that the school went on, and I didn't go. So the next year, when they were like, "Oh, it was amazing, it's brilliant," like the next year, I refused to go because I didn't want all my mates to be able to ski, and I had never done it.
Wow.
And since then, since I was like 13, that's just stayed with me for the last 27 years. I've got so many mates now that have such good skiing holidays, and I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going with like special needs fucking kit on the baby slopes with the 5-year-olds while they're all doing Eddie the Eagles off the jumps and shit.
Me and you should go together. We'll just go.
Maybe we should, yeah. Just don't tell anyone.
Maybe there's like a, you know, those indoor ski places. Next time we're at Body Power or something, there's got to be one in like Birmingham or something, surely. You know, we'll get some.
We'll find one. We'll have to find one, mate.
Okay. Round number 2 is yours, Mark. False, false, true.
Okay. So, during my lifetime, I have suffered from cramp. During my lifetime, I have suffered from a migraine. During my lifetime, I have suffered from constipation.
Well, you are full of shit.
Hey!
Definitely going to put that sound effect in.
So,
that's a tricky one.
Yeah. Cramp, migraine, constipation. One of them I have had. 2 of them I have never had.
Right. So I think.
Oh, wait.
Go on. What's up?
No, nothing. No, you far away.
So one of these is true, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. So.
This is awkward.
Go on. What's up?
Yeah. What's your answer first?
So I think that you have never had a migraine. I think you've had constipation, and I think you've had cramp.
Well, you're partly right, and you're partly wrong. I've never had cramp in my life.
Wow. That's insane.
I've never been constipated in my life. Okay. But the problem is, I've also never had a migraine in my life. I meant to write down headache, but I meant to write down headache to throw you off the... So I've fucked it, haven't I?
That's all right.
Let's pretend I didn't say migraine, a headache. I've had a couple of headaches in hangover format, but I meant to write headache, not migraine. So
I'll take half a point for that one then.
Yeah, and I think I probably deserve to be deducted half a point for getting my own fucking game wrong. Sorry, mate.
That's all right.
But I've never had any of them.
That's a good one.
Well, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but
I'd say probably good.
People are always going on about, like, oh, constipation. I am regular as clockwork.
Oh, 2 p.m. Oh, good. Time to go. Right, round 3 is me again, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, so number 1, I started training in combat sports at the age of 12.
Yep.
2, I once killed a man with nothing but a paperclip and some blue tack. Number 3, I ruptured a blood vessel in my testicle whilst deadlifting. Ooh.
One of them's true.
Yep.
What was that middle one? You killed a man with a paper plate and some blue tack.
Paperclip and some blue tack.
Paperclip and some blue tack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you going to try and use some sort of play on words and sort of like say it was like a snowman or something like that? Let's assume if it's a human being, I'm pretty sure that you have not committed murder. What was the third one?
I once ruptured a blood vessel in my testicle whilst deadlifting.
I'm going to shoot down the middle, mate. I'm going to say that there's some truth somewhere in killing a man with a paperclip and blue tack. I just don't know how.
You're completely wrong. I literally just put that one in because I thought it sounded funny. The one that I was trying to throw you with was started training in combat sports at the age of 12. I was actually 13. And back in 2013, I think, I was doing a 1 rep max deadlift and I heard and it was a blood vessel in my testicle rupturing.
Bloody hell.
It got all swollen.
Rupturing a testicle for 70 kilos on a deadlift.
68.
Oh dear, oh dear. Right.
Have you checked your questions? Are they all legit?
I'm just double checking them now. Yeah. Right. I think I've got it.
Okay.
Right. I have taught somebody to drive in order to help them pass their driving test.
Mm-hmm.
I have taught religious education.
Mm-hmm.
And I have taught aqua aerobics.
Ooh.
And there's a possibility that 2 of them are true and only 1 is false, by the way. Because I might have got the game wrong again.
So, I reckon. See, I can picture you teaching aqua aerobics because I've taught water aerobics before. I did it for years and it was fucking awful for me. I'm going to go with you taught religious studies and you taught someone to drive.
Ooh. I have taught religious education, religious studies, whatever you call it. As when I was teaching PE, they told me that I had to have a classroom subject, and the only thing that was desperate for a member of staff was bloody RE. So I had to teach it for a whole year to 13-year-olds. I have taught aqua aerobics during my managerial days at Bannatynes, when you get the old, I'm stuck in traffic, I don't think I can make it for my 11 o'clock class at 10:57. Then I had to jump in and teach. I literally as well jumped in the pool as well. The old biddies loved it. And the third one, I have taught someone how to drive, but I was 15 and they were 13, so it wasn't to the standard of passing a driving test.
Damn.
So close to being true, but not true. And do you know what? I can't believe I've just fucked up my own game twice.
Yeah, I think maybe we need to do a separate podcast just on the rules of the game. To be honest,
yeah. Maybe I've done 1 false, and 1 false, true, and the game's called, the clue's in the title, false, true. Fucking hell.
I know, right? Were you writing on an envelope?
Yeah, yeah. I just had a delivery from Amazon, and I scribbled it on the envelope. Oh dear.
Yes, that was shocking, but it was good. We learned some stuff.
I'm not going to lie, mate. That could have gone against us in our bid to win a BAFTA.
Maybe. I thought it was quite dramatic. There was a lot of if I put some like dramatic music, like underlay it, on the video. Yeah,
it might be enough to rescue it, but I don't think it's going to be. We're going to have to stick a masturbate on the end of the podcast.
Okay, we can masturbate at the end. That's fine.
If I've ruined our chance of winning an award, then I sort of do semi-apologise. Right, shall we get cracking on some actual structured, interesting, educational material?
Let's do it. Why not? Give the people what they want. Okay, so what's our first question from UK from UK PTs?
The first question is coming from, give me a second. Okay, coming from Carly Ann Handy. And it's not so much a question, it's a statement, but her statement was about how to stay positive and to stay motivated because she feels like she's gone downhill. What would your advice be for that?
So it's quite funny actually, because this is something that I struggled with for quite a long time. Not necessarily motivation, but I was always very self-critical, like overly self-critical. So we'd do like a 15 grand month and I'd be like, oh man, should have been 20, or we could have done more. We could have done this, we could have done that. So I think the things that I learned from that moving through it was finding material that helps motivate you. So things like podcasts, books, audio books, that sort of thing. So like there was, what's his name? There's Grant Cardone has one called the 10X rule. I found that quite useful. There's David Goggins, that was quite useful. He's an ex-Navy SEAL. What are the other ones I've got up here? Always look to the bookshelf. Be a free-range human. That's always very good. And then I think the other thing that I did was learning to speak to people when I was facing stress or problems. And that was really difficult for me to do. And the other thing is randomly journaling. So let me show you. There's an app, if it's going to let me show you. It's called Stoic. And it comes up like this. I don't know how well you can see that.
Yeah, I can see it near enough.
So basically, at the beginning and end of every day, you do like a little journal and it asks you questions. It takes you through mindfulness exercises or meditation and stuff like that. And I found that being more grateful for stuff and recognizing the stuff that I actually have achieved has been the biggest thing for keeping me motivated, but also keeping my stress level down. So like when we have a bad month and I'm like, well, do you know what? I've got 3 companies, like I do this, I've got my family, like I've got so much to be grateful for. And there's so much that I have done already. And that's what keeps me on track. I think it's really just about exploring what works for you as a person. What would you reckon, Mark?
I mean, for me, it's things that I've suffered with both at different degrees. On the positivity note, yeah, probably similar to you, I have definitely been through phases where no matter, and I think all human beings are like this, you can get 99 comments about how brilliant something is, but if one person has written, it doesn't even have to be a bad comment, it could just be sort of like a mediocre, that can be enough to just completely derail your day or your week. And I think this sort of Stephen Aish would have touched on a lot of things like this in his podcast. So if anyone really is suffering with motivation or they're putting a bit too much pressure on themselves, go back and listen to the Stephen Aish podcast a couple more times, because it will help you to sort your own thinking out and just kind of getting your head around. It doesn't matter if this tiny minuscule amount of feedback is negative when all of this, the majority of it, is positive. And if you sort of, let's say some negative things happen, someone tells you your training is shit, or someone is humiliating you on a Facebook post, making out like you don't know what you're talking about, or sort of whatever it is that happens, turn that into a positive. So one option, you can sulk about it. Like, that's probably not going to take it back. It's not going to mean that thing hasn't happened. It's happened and it can't ever be undone. So just how do you turn it into a positive? So can you go away and add some extra services to what you offer so that somebody in future can't complain about it? Can you over deliver? Can you go away and read something or learn something similar to what you touched on about like extracurricular learning, like whether it's podcast, book, or a course? If someone's tried to be a clever dick and called you out on something on a social media post, go and learn something so you understand where they're coming from. But in that instance, the best thing for me is to sort of accept that when that happens, probably 99 times out of 100, you are not the problem. The person is the problem. Their insecurities, their problems are now being forced upon you. And Stephen H does this sort of has this cool little thing where he'll sort of like say, let's say I've got this pen, the nearest thing, and if I say to you, Josh, I've got a present for you. This pen is a present for you. I'm just going to put it here and I want you to take it. If you refuse to pick the pen up and you just walk off, who does the pen belong to?
You.
Well, it still belongs to me. Yeah. So if I'm pissed off or I'm angry and I've got all of this like inner turmoil and I'm trying to give it to you, if you choose to accept it, then you accept it. Now you own it and you have to deal with it. But if you just go, well, tough shit, I'm just going to plod on and I'm going to leave it here, then it still belongs to me. So it's a great way of dodging other people's shit. Part of that involves, can you develop thick enough skin or enough kind of social media intelligence to be able to just read something that could be perceived as negative and to ignore it and just not derail your whole day or your whole week because of it? Can you absorb some negative information and turn it into a positive by using it to improve yourself? There's a saying that we used to have when I worked in professional sport, that you never lose, you either win or you learn. And if someone can add that into their back pocket, you never lose, either win or you learn something. And in this game, there's even the most intelligent people. You get someone like, say, Rachel France on this show, and you ask her how much she thinks she knows about the human body, she'll probably tell you about 10% of what there is to know is what she knows. Well, she knows fucking 10 times more than me and you know. So that means we probably know 1% of what there is to know about the human body. So there's always going to be something to learn that we can use to expand upon the services we can provide. And the only other thing I would add to how to improve motivation and how to sort of stay positive would be to address your work-life balance.
Agreed.
Because I've been guilty of this in the past numerous times, where you work. Things aren't quite going as well as you want them to be. So you think, well, if I just do a bit more work, that will eventually get me to a point where things fall into place. And it never does, because more stuff comes up and something will always come out of the woodwork and you end up just doing more. And there's a slide that I have in all my presentations that I do to help personal trainers to become, to have a long-term job a long-term career rather than a short-term job. And that is about stopping to sharpen the saw. And you've probably heard the analogy of two people are given a task to cut as much wood as they can in an hour. One of them just goes hell for leather, working as hard as he can for the whole hour. The other guy or person spends the first 20 minutes doing nothing, just sharpening the saw. And the person who spent more time prepping and more time away from the task sharpened his saw. He was more efficient when he was cutting, and then he would take his foot off, sharpen it again, cut some more, rather than just having to think you have to do more. Actually, sometimes stop, do less, recharge, have an hour, a day, or a week away from a task. And let's be honest, like how much stuff that people are getting stressed about, it's probably a small amount of things that are either going to send you to prison if you don't deal with them right now, that are going to mean that you or your family are going to starve to death if you don't deal with them right now, or something equally terrible is going to happen if you don't respond to that message right now at 10 o'clock at night, or if you don't do something that you think you have to do. Even most of the stuff that you think that has to be done now can probably just wait a day or a couple of days or something like that. So the best thing that I've ever done is to learn to just stop, have time away, like get a hobby, do something you enjoy. Having a dog works well for me because it means in the middle of the day I can just go out for a walk for an hour and a half. Even if I've got a deadline in 3 hours, fuck it. I'll take the dog for a walk for an hour, come back, and I'm ready. I'm more positive. I've got more energy to tackle the task at hand.
Makes sense. And I think one of the books I'd actually recommend is, I believe it's Dan Meredith's book. The name escapes me. I've got it on my Kindle. I'll have to check. But I think in it, he says, you know, you've got to set goals. That's one way to maintain motivation, is goal setting. And like you said, it's analysing the cause of your stress and the cause of your lack of motivation. And I've been in exactly the same situation where I had a task list that was about 150 things long. And in the end, I started just culling things off of it because it just wasn't worth the stress. There we go. How to Be Fucking Awesome by Dan Meredith. So I'm actually going to try and get Dan on for next year, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 100% we'll get him on, yeah.
And then, I think another thing that you said that kind of resonates with me quite a lot is having a thick skin. So I'm sure it was Dan that said this as well, but if they're not it's the 3 Fs. So if they're not family, if they're not fucking you, or they're not feeding you, or, you know, they're not financially bound to you, then who cares? Who cares what they think? And I'm very much in that camp at the moment. Like it's, I think developing a thick skin is massively important. And I think people, with the rise of social media, people have become so prone to taking comments on board, and that there's such a weight to the person's comment, when in reality, like, it's it's nothing. Like, it literally does not matter. It took years to figure that out. Cool.
The problem with that is when you judge everything just purely by some words written on a screen with no context, no tone. Like, somebody could say something, and if it was us having a conversation, you can make it very clear that it's a sarcastic joke comment that you then laugh your head off at. Whereas if I type it in a message and you read it and go, what's this twat saying? Is he, what, you want to fucking fight? Right, outside now. Again, you can take it the wrong way. And also, like, someone can write something. Once you've written it, it can't ever be corrected. It can't be, all right, you can delete it, but if it's been read, it's been read. So you can't ever go back. So somebody could react to something, fly off the handle, and very often they'll do that without first checking whether it was serious, was it meant to be nasty, was it misunderstood, was it sarcastic, was it banter, blah blah blah. So I think it's important. Like, when in the old fashioned days, when everyone used to communicate verbally, you could read someone's body language when you say something, and you know whether you've put your foot in it and you've upset somebody. So then you can go on, you can backtrack and go, oh, I didn't mean it like that, I meant it like this. And therefore you can paper over the cracks a little bit more easily. But one thing, everything's just written on a screen, you just can't do that.
Yeah. And I think as well, the other thing to remember is that everybody, pretty much everyone universally right now, is stressed, they're tired, they're pissed off because of lockdown and lockdown 2.0 and the tier system. And there's just been this constant barrage of fear and stress and anger. And so I think that's why I've not really been posting much, and just because, do you know what, like, I've got other things to worry about, more important things to worry about. So yeah.
Damn right. And there's one thing that you mentioned there about where sort of people take things quite personally, and they almost, if somebody disagrees with them or makes it clear that they don't like what they've said or they don't like them personally, that can upset a lot of people. And like, if you put that on its head and say, right, do you like every single person you've ever met? Of course you don't. Some people are fucking bellends, myself included. So if you don't like every single person you've ever met, why should you expect every other person to like you They might not like you. It doesn't matter. There's billions more people in the world. If a few of them don't like you, that doesn't matter. And when you try to be everything to everyone and you try to please and appease everyone all of the time, then you are definitely susceptible to like an emotional roller coaster. Because the ups and the downs will come every few seconds if you let them. Whereas if you just accept some people aren't going to like me, that doesn't matter. They can do their shit over there. I can do my shit over here. No one has to get upset about it. It's just the way it is. Doesn't mean you have to be mean or hate people or say nasty things about them. You can just live separate lives and not allow their disliking of you to derail from the positive stuff that you can do.
Exactly. And I think our goal of having quick fire questions has kind of gone a bit out the window now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has a little bit. Yeah. Do you want me to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's go question number
2. Okay. Vicky McMahon. I struggle with the fact that most PTs offer online coaching, but I really struggle with doing online stuff. I know that it could massively increase my income, but as a coach, I love to be in contact with people. Does anybody else have this same problem? I just don't think I could do online coaching. I find it incredibly boring being sat at a laptop. And that comment has got 16 likes. So I dare say there are a lot of people that actually, I'm flicking through, there's half a dozen, 4 or 5 at least comments, people saying they're in the same boat.
Yeah, so this is completely understandable because obviously when lockdown 1 happened or kicked off, all of the adverts from fitness coaches, like as in the gurus, the mentors, people like that, they all shifted their focus to online training. How to be a successful online trainer. If you want to make this much money, you have to be online. Like if you don't like the idea of doing online training, just don't fucking do it. There's nothing that is saying that you have to do online training. And what you're doing is comparing yourself to other people and you're saying, oh, well, this person's doing this really well. They're doing this really well. Like, why I should be doing that? You don't have to do anything. That's the joy of being self-employed. Like you do what you want to do. And the one thing that I've really, really had to learn the hard way over the years, if I don't like doing something, the chance of me actually doing it well or doing it at all are very, very low, incredibly low. So for me, I will only do stuff within reason. Like there's some things like accounting that I have to do, but if there's a new business venture, even if I started the venture, I put money into it. If I then figure out that I hate doing it, then I'll just shut it down. So I think feeling pressure from the fitness industry or what other people are doing, like peer pressure, basically, I think just try to ignore it and just do what you feel is right. And if you need help, you can always reach out to me and Mark. And there are always other options. Like, for example, if you feel like online coaching isn't the way forward, maybe there are some other online avenues you could explore to still make money.
Yeah.
There's always stuff out there. What do you reckon, Mark?
Well, my dad gave me the best advice ever when I was probably in my late teens, early 20s. And he sort of said, it doesn't matter what you do for a living, just make sure you enjoy it because you've got to do it for a bloody long time. So if you think that like if you're in your early 20s, you've got 40, 50 years, unless you win the Euro Millions, you've got a long time before you retire. So if you're doing something that you don't enjoy, then it is probably going to have a knock-on effect to the rest of your life. That there's going to be, we're lucky in that we work in an industry where we can wear our PE kit every day. We get to go to gyms or studios or whatever. You can have like fucking cool music. It's like being in a nightclub. You've got your mates coming in who you can have a chat with and have banter with. It is a bloody good job to have. It's almost like a social thing rather than like a serious job. Flip that on its head. go into a city. I always, if let's say I use London as example. If I teach a course in London and I'm on the tube heading down to whatever gym I'm teaching at, got my PE kit on, and I'm happy as a pig in shit, and just look at the fucking state of all of the people sitting around you that are miserable as fuck because they've got their suit on every day. They go and sit at the same desk, entering numbers into a poxy spreadsheet. Like, they hate their boss, they hate the people they work with, they hate the industry they work in, and then they just go and snort loads of cocaine and live on Red Bull and coffee to try and make themselves feel a little bit better. And like, that's going to be a long 40, 50 years if that is how much you dislike what you're doing. Anyway, returning back to the start of my point, you've got to enjoy what you do. So if you enjoy face-to-face coaching, don't bow down to the peer pressure of trying to be a 100% online coach, because you're going to be in that same situation where you don't enjoy it. The caveat to that is that obviously if we take 2020 as a bit of a freak year, especially for our industry, because for probably 3/4 of it, we haven't been allowed to do face-to-face coaching. So there has to have been an element of diversification for us to survive by operating online. But we know that at some point soon, we will be able to deliver face-to-face again. And even now, we can deliver face-to-face. It just has to be, I don't know what the rules are anymore. I've lost track. But does it have to be like one-to-one? It has to be outdoors, some places indoors, some places outdoors. But it is possible. One thing I would add, and this is coming from someone who was 100% anti-online coaching and an advocate of face-to-face coaching. One thing I think it would be worth doing is, even if you hate the thought of doing your entire job online, is it worth having sort of like a low-priced, automated online product? Talked about it before. Can you have something that's £7 to £10 a month? Can you have something that's £30, £40 a month? Two different products. That just means you can have an extra few £100 a month come into your pocket. That could be a few grand a month that comes into your pocket if it's a good enough product that just gives you that little buffer of security that you can then use to say, right, well, I do 80% of my time, I coach people face-to-face because I fucking love it. But rather than doing 40 face-to-face sessions a week, now I do 25. And with those extra 15 hours of my week, I go for walks, I take my missus out, I go to the cinema, I've taken up a new hobby, I've started fucking painting or archery or whatever, because my automated 20% of my business earns me an extra £900 a month. So that means I'm still earning the same amount, but I've got a bit more freedom, more quality of life that ties into the first point. Does that kind of make sense?
I think so, yeah. And I mean, I've got something called 365 Habits, which is my kind of semi-automated. Well, no, it's fully automated, but I don't charge anyone for it at the moment because I'm just building it up. But it's an automated email coaching system. So all it does is it sends emails out every day to the clients based on their habits, and it's just automated. So the goal is to have a year of habits on there. But if anybody wants me to show them through that and how I built it, then just drop me a message and let me know.
Yeah. I mean, something simple like that. It's silly not to embrace the technology, embrace the fact that huge numbers of people are not traveling to their workplace. They've probably they might have, so if someone's now not working or they're furloughed still, they've lost commuting time. They might have an extra half an hour in their day or an hour in their day, and they might be able to then use that time elsewhere. You might be able to fill that little void. And if it's £5, £6, £7, £10 a month, okay, there'll be some people that can't afford it, but there'll be fucking thousands of people who can. And if you're giving them something that is worth £7, £8, £9 a month to them, just as that little bit of an accountability, why not? Why not try to get 500 people on it, 100 people on it?
Exactly. It's the thing is, there are so many options for running the business. There are so many options running different kind of online revenue streams. Like, it's just endless. Like, it's literally only dictated by your creativity. That's it. And your technical expertise, but you can figure that out easy enough. Okay, next question.
Next one. Try and find a good one. Okay, so Sarah Duck Hastings says that she struggles with PTs not passing clients on to more qualified and experienced people when they're out of depth in an area. We all want the same for our clients, and those that try to bluff through people's health are just not good. We aren't all experts in every area. And again, there's a number of people that have commented on it, sort of that they agree or they've experienced the same.
So yeah, I see this a lot, especially in UK PTs, when people say, "Oh, I've got this client, what should I do?" And then you get like 70 comments, people going, "Refer them." So I think what this tells me is that if a personal trainer is unable or unwilling to refer a client to another professional, that to me screams insecurity. And I think that it would show, if the client knew about it, then they would see that their PT is insecure and unwilling to pass them on to another professional. But I used to work as a PT doing rehab for a medical insurance company. So I've got like the relevant qualifications and insurances and stuff. But I always used to have to refer to physios, chiropractors, osteopaths. And I never once ever had a situation where I lost a client because that person stole them from me. And I think that's what inexperienced and insecure PTs think is going to happen, that the chiropractor is going to steal their client or whatever. If you've got a good enough bond with your client and you've got a good enough service, then you've got nothing to worry about.
You know? But that's like thinking that someone who lives in a house thinks that the plumber is going to steal a client off the electrician. Well, it's different fucking jobs, they're different trades. Like you need them both to be able to have a house that's in one piece. Like you can't. It's probably quite a good analogy actually. Building a house is that there isn't just one person that turns up and does everything. It's like you've got to have different people from different trades, and they specialize in different areas. For me, this type, if you think about, there are some fantastic PTs in the industry. There are some ridiculously clever people that do a brilliant job, and there are people who make really good money. And I'm talking about like 40, 50 grand, like very modest amounts compared to what the 6, 7, 8 figure gurus are going to tell you should be making. I'm talking just like a real good income. There's a lot of people that do very well. However, we know that the vast majority of people in the industry struggle. The vast majority leave the industry too soon. The vast majority don't have enough education to deal with the problems that they're facing. So if we took like a random 100 personal trainers, there might be 10 who are so good in certain areas that they can sidestep back pain or deal with an eating disorder or whatever it is, because they've got enough skill in that certain area and they can take it on. There'll be another probably 10 or 20 that can do an all right job, but they probably not as good a job as the 10%. And then there's probably a huge majority that, using my numbers, would then be 70, 80% that probably haven't got a fucking clue, but they're just throwing some shit at the wall, hoping a bit sticks. The problem is they can't afford to not have that 30 quid by saying they can't do it, or that 100 quid a month or 200 quid a month or whatever it is. So they've got no choice but to say, yeah, I can do it, and then try and find out how. I understand the irony here, because I've Richard Branson's like famous quote about, if someone asks if you can do something, say yes and then find out how. And that is something that I've done myself in the past, but not with something so serious as like an illness, an eating disorder, a musculoskeletal problem that falls outside of my skill set. That's just like, you've got to be careful with what you try and bluff and blag your way through the industry. So I think the problem is exacerbated by the people who are out of their depth and need the financial input so badly that they've got no choice but to just say, yeah, I can do it. And then you've just got added to that as probably like a slight ego element of, no, I'm a fucking personal trainer. I mean, I can do everything. Whereas in actual fact, the people, if you look at some of the people at the very, very, very top, let's say we've had Phil Lerney on, we've had James Smith on, we've had Ben Coomber on, all very, very successful in their own right. They've all got a team of people that work with them. They don't all think they can do all of their own social media. They do all of their own marketing. They do all of their own branding work. They don't do all of their own. They've worked their way up into a position of authority. Their information is dictated to a team of people that then work with them to bring it to life. And being a PT is no different. There's no shame whatsoever in having a very good working relationship with a local physio, a local chiro, a local X, Y, or Z. What will happen is if you send enough people to the local chiropractor, before too long, the chiropractor will be sending people to you. So it will actually work in your favor. I've had it in the past where it works every single time. If you've done a good enough job of sending them people, they'll send you some back, and then the money will come into your pocket eventually. But the law of reciprocity, in that you're sharing with somebody else, they are then going to feel obliged to share back with you.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually used to run a GP referral scheme as well back in the day, but I wrote a series of modules on how to liaise with other professionals. So that was on the old PT Toolbox. So what I might do is actually rebuild that and recreate it and add it to the new PT Toolbox, because we've got exercise referral coming up in 2021 as an online course anyway. So, this would be a very good time for people to get qualified and start reaching out to these doctors. So I think at one point I had about 8 trainers working with me, and we had about 21 doctors that were referring just standard patients to us,
Yeah.
In the end, we had to call it a day, but that's another story for another podcast. But I've got modules written on that, how we did it. So maybe I'll put that up live when the exercise referral course goes live.
Yeah, damn right. And I mean, from talking about me and you, in terms of networking and building up a team of people, that between us, we are very good at networking and getting in the right places at the right time. So imparting some of that to help other people that maybe struggle with it. And now is the best time to be doing it, because I don't think there's a PT in the country that is allowed, no matter what tier you're in, is allowed to be delivering as much face-to-face stuff as they were. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure probably most personal trainers have a little bit more time on their hand now than they would have if lockdown and coronavirus didn't even exist. So use that time, even if it's a fucking hour a week, use it to just build some relationships. And can you collaborate with like physios, chiros, osteos, other reputable professionals and just don't see it as a weakness of you. It's like if somebody rings up an electrician and asks them to come round and fix the plumbing in their bathroom, the person on the other end of the phone isn't going to be upset if you say, I'm an electrician, but I've got a mate who's a qualified plumber. He'll give you a ring in an hour. Like, that is perfectly understandable. And there's sort of, in terms of staying in your lane and knowing what your role is and what your skill set allows you to do, is probably something that will evolve and will improve as the industry improves.
Exactly.
And the more people listen to this podcast.
Exactly. 100% agree. Okay, what's up next?
What's next? Let me find another one. Ooh. Okay. Lewis Lee. He says that I would say, this is in terms of what problems he faces, I would say mine really boils down to cost. I don't live in a well-off area, so charging a high amount doesn't work. Even though I have a vast amount of experience, 80% of people always see cost over experience. And in most cases, you can't get them to change their mind regardless of what you say. That is a bloody good point that will resonate with a lot of people.
Okay, so a few options here. So I'm going to try and do this relatively quickly. Option number one is you relocate. I don't mean like you actually move house, but find a new gym or move, depending on where you are. Let's say you're in, say, part of London, or you're not in the sticks, basically. Then a half-hour drive, an hour drive, 45 minutes is going to take you to a completely different area, a completely different type of individual or net worth or whatever you want to look at. So number one is relocate your business or your gym.
Well, he just on that note, it looks like he's in Medway, which is Kent, isn't it?
Yeah. So to be able to commute somewhere, to go to a different gym or a higher class gym or whatever, that's option number one. Option number two is provide a service that is not based upon your current location. So that could be online training, that could be some sort of, different coaching that you can do online. Option three is potentially look inwards, and is it actually their fault or is it your fault? Is your service not looking as valuable as it should? Is there something you could probably change in your offering or the delivery of your offering when you speak to people? And that normally is the one that we would look at first, is how is your offer set up? Are you showing enough value? Is there more value that you could add? All of those sorts of questions. I've got a document actually that's designed to look at someone's offer, and you just fill it out as a spreadsheet, and then you can look at what you're missing. So if anybody wants that, just drop me an email and we'll get it sorted.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a common one, and you'll get a. There's been a change in the last few years since you get a lot of people who are very good at marketing have then realised that the fitness industry was marketing itself like shit, and now it's possible to improve that. And one of the most noticeable differences is promoting and selling to people the value of what they get, not the features of what you offer. So if walking around town, you're like, do you want a PT session for 40 quid? Do you want me to train you for 40 quid? Do you want a session for 40 quid? Nobody's going to take you up on that. So why would I pay £40 for you to tell me exercise to do for an hour? So just offering out personal training at a set amount isn't going to cut it anymore. Whereas if you're walking around to, I don't know, let's say I'm talking to overweight men and I'm saying, do you want to be able to see your dick in the shower? Yeah, I desperately want to see my dick in the shower. Well, that's different. That is now one of the benefits of training with me, rather than me selling you the cost of the session. Do you know what I mean? I think Nick and Ant talked about this quite nicely. I'm sure it was them, when they sort of talk about packaging up a monthly or 4, 8, 12-week product, and at the end of this 12-week product, you are going to be able to see your dick in the shower. Well, that is now far more valuable to me than just saying, give me 400 quid and I'll tell you some exercises every day. Like, exactly. Why would I do that? Why would I do it? I can get that from YouTube. So just reframing the way you're selling things is probably gonna have a big impact, and make sure people understand the benefits that they're going to receive, not just the features of what you offer.
Exactly. I think that all comes down to selling cost versus value. Like, I think the equation is being looked at the wrong way around. But I mean, if sorry, I forgot who asked the question. What was their name?
Lewis Lee.
So Lewis, if you have any further questions, or if you want to brainstorm this with us, just let us know and we'll jump on a Zoom call or something and we can go through it. But I mean, I'm sure I've got a book here somewhere about it. I'll find it. I'll dig it out and I'll let them know. But yeah, I mean, there's loads of different options. If somebody doesn't think, if somebody doesn't want to pay what you're worth, then there are different ways around it. But again, I think that's that could be potentially something that Lewis could reach out to us for. So
yeah,
what should we do? Should we do 2 more questions?
Yeah, okay, mate. We'll go do 2 more. So we'll go for the next one. Actually, it's probably quite a good one, actually. I apologise if I'm pronouncing this name wrong, but Jamie McGahey. McGahey. McGahey, I think. He said that he has trouble trying to make people understand basic macros or calories. And he adds to that sometimes in the past, he's had to question whether people are like deliberately acting uneducated, or he's had to question whether they're testing him, or he's had to question whether or not he's delivering it in the right way. And he's found himself banging his head against the wall. So if, in terms of, I think using that macros and calories is just like as an example. So let's say if that could be any aspect of health, fitness, well-being, how do you deal with it if you think somebody is A, deliberately being stupid, B, are they trying to catch you out, or C, are you delivering it in the wrong way?
So I would always begin by assuming it was the way that I had explained it, because I don't think anyone would be trying to test you. I don't think clients are that malicious, and if they are, then you probably should sack them as clients. If they're trying to catch you out and fuck around with all those games, then just get rid of them, in my opinion. So I would say it's probably your delivery that I would look at first. And one thing I've done in the past for people that I've coached, like PTs that I've coached, is we would speak to all of their current clients. And I would say, right, when you first started working with X, Y, and Z, what were the biggest problems when they taught you about macronutrients? Or what didn't you understand? And ask all of your clients what they didn't understand, and use that to write what effectively would be called like the idiot's guide to macronutrients. Make it as simple as possible. And then what I would do, I've done this a few times actually, is go onto Google, type in like, I don't know, what is a calorie? And when it comes up with the suggested searches and the suggested questions, use those to build your own frequently asked questions at the end of your macronutrient guide. So you build out your guide, and then you have the FAQ at the end. And then the other thing I would probably do is it could just be down to people's comprehension. It could be their reading ability. Like it could be maybe you haven't worded it right. So I would also probably do a video version or like an audio version or some different method of delivery. That's probably what I would do. So build out an idiot's guide. And if that still doesn't work, there's got to be something wrong with the client, in my opinion. Yeah. Because go on.
I agree, mate. I mean, you're probably once in a blue moon, you might get a clever dick person who's had lots of PTs before, or I tell you what, you probably get someone who's read a few websites, or they've watched something on YouTube, or they're part of some conspiracy network, and they'll try and challenge you because of their own insecurities. So it might happen, but it's going to be once in a blue moon. Generally speaking, if somebody is a paying client and they're giving you money, chances are they're already buying into your expertise to a certain degree. So I think if we always assume, and this is probably a good lesson for life as well, because if you get someone who walks around and be like, oh, that person's stupid, that person's stupid, that person's stupid. If you think that everybody in your life is stupid because they don't understand something, probably the common denominator is you not explaining it properly, but not explaining it in a way that they all understand it. So from a teaching perspective, not everybody learns to ride a bike the same way. Not everybody learns the alphabet or how to speak French the same way. So can you provide the information taken into, if we were teaching a course, you are going to have sections where, let's say we use the calories. I'm going to put on the board, so it's written down, here's the basic principles of understanding calories and macros. I'm then going to tell you it. So for those who can't read it properly or don't read and understand, I'm going to tell you it so that I'm talking through it, and I can add little analogies. I can use stories or use examples to make it sink in. I can make it funny and engaging. So now I've explained it for those who need to hear it. And then I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through, let's say, you've explained you've explained the calories, and now you're going to get them to work out their BMR or something. Rather than just telling them how to do it, or rather than just writing it down, you actually do it with a person. If it's a group, you pick one out and do it for them, or use like a case study, or if you're working with people individually, like actually do it with their numbers. So you can actually hold their hand and help them while they do it, if that makes sense. So you can teach the same thing in very different ways. And sort of traditionally you have like the visual, audio and kinesthetic learners. So that's worth thinking about. Obviously don't put all of your eggs in that basket, but it's worth trying to teach things in different ways. And the point that you made is very good, is that can you try to preempt the problems and the questions before they come up? And that's it's a clever way of actually typing it into Google, a term or something, because what pops up is going to be the most common questions that people are asking anywhere in the world about that topic. So if you can then put that together in a real simple idiot's guide, for want of a better word, then maybe don't call it that, but you can if you want. It's your document, call it what you want. The fucking moron's guide to macros. Here you go, Barbara. I've got something especially for you. Now, you're the only person in the world that needs this. It's the fucking moron's guide to macronutrients. You can just spell it out. Never. The worst thing is to assume that what you're doing is perfect and that the other person is the problem. Yes, they might be stupid, but we can't tell them that. Yes, they might be a clever dick, but we can't accuse them of being that. Yes, they might be concentrating on 101 other things that are more important to them right now than your story about macronutrients. So if you can reframe it in different ways and deliver it in different ways to them, then that may well help.
I think one other thing that you've just triggered in my brain. So two things actually. Number one is, if you think that your clients and everyone else are the problems, read this book, Extreme Ownership. It changed. Oh, hello. What happened there?
I don't know what happened there, mate. I just disappeared. Was that you or me?
No idea. I didn't touch anything. So yeah, it's by an ex-Navy SEAL. This book is my most recommended book, most gifted book as well.
Every bloody week.
I know, right?
Have you got shares? Are you what's his name? Jocko Willink or something?
I wish.
Is that his name?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So I mean, so that's.
Are you two bumming?
I wish.
Hey, well, I'll see what I can do.
And then the other thing is potentially it could be down to, and I just thought this a minute ago, it could be down to the delivery method. So when I teach level 3 nutrition, we always have to get a whiteboard out and we have to go through an example, and we do it step by step with every single person. So we go, BMR is 66 times blah, 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 blah. And we go through it step by step and we do it fucking like 10 times so they get it. And I'm like, well, imagine if you're Barbara and you're 50 years old and your PT's just said you've got to track calories, protein, carbs, and fat. You've never heard of any of those. Maybe that's a bit too much. So maybe week 1, you just get her to track her calories. Then week 2, you get her to track her protein as well. Then carbs and fat or whatever, you know, and do it in like a more kind of step by step kind of approach to tracking macros. And you'll probably notice that your long-term adherence would go up as well because it's not as overwhelming.
Yeah, 100%. I've done that myself in the past, where you just, if you think when you've got a new client, you want to dazzle them, you want to impress them, you want to prove to them that they've invested wisely, they've chosen you, not all of these other people they could have chosen. So it's sometimes very easy to try to just like blurt out everything you've ever learned to try and impress them, and that can be very overwhelming. So don't be shy to just kind of drip feed it. When I deliver workshops, I will always pop up like a James Bond picture, and I'll be like, right, this bit I'm going to talk about next got James Bond. It's like, because this is a need to know basis. Right now, I'm going to tell you what you need to know, but in 6 months' time, there's going to be more to it. So I'm just going to give you what you need to know right now, and we're going to nail that at like calories in, calories out. But that's it. That's all you need to know. Then in a few weeks' time, I'm going to teach you how to scan everything and put it on MyFitnessPal. Fuck the rest of it. That's all you need to know for right now. Then a few weeks down the line, I'm going to teach you the differences between protein, fats, and carbohydrate sources. That's all you need to know for now. Then a couple of weeks down the line, we're going to look at like the different ratios of one to the other to the other. And if it's like this is more likely to happen. But if it's like this is more likely to happen. And just literally, and it's so they understand that it's a lifetime of learning, not just I'm going to fucking spunk my load on week 1, but then in a few weeks' time, I've got nothing else to give you because I've told you everything I know, and it all went over your head because it was like too overwhelming.
Yeah, you should never spunk your load in one go.
You try and spread it out.
Ideally, over a few weeks. Yeah, I would agree. Okay, final question.
Final question. Claire McCarthy Booth.
Ooh.
Who is she's someone we actually probably need to get on at some point. Great. Because she is a strong lady who is very good at what she does. And she has said that one of the things, either we can assume it's maybe something she struggles with or something that she sees other people struggling with, clients asking and taking advice from a post off social media.
Yeah, this is a really difficult one because you've got people like James Smith, for example, who was obviously our first guest, but he has got a massive social media reach and he's going to influence a lot of people. So as a personal trainer, you're going to need to be able to, if your client comes in and you say, well, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and they go, well, actually, James Smith said I should do this. You're going to have evidence, and basically you're going to have to be able to prove your side of the point or your side of the argument. And
you're also going to have to have a better moustache. You're going to have better analogies, better swear words, and probably 1 million Instagram followers.
Exactly. And
if you're going to be listened to.
Exactly. And it's a really tough one. So I would imagine that potentially your client hasn't bought in enough to you. That might be one option or one reason why this is happening. The other option is I've seen this a lot because I've done it a lot, is that the person isn't really fully invested in that part of their journey.
Yeah.
So for years and years and years, I was constantly jumping between like kettlebell programs from like Strong First, and then I was doing Tac Fit for a while, and then I'd do like some bodybuilding for a little bit, and I would never stick with one program because I wasn't fully invested. And I would see a social media post of someone saying, this is the new program, like this is it, this is the one you need, and I'd be like, man, fucking get on that shit. And it wouldn't be, because that was my problem. So potentially it's going to be either the personal trainer isn't delivering their information in a clear enough way, or they're just not delivering it at all, or I think the client isn't bought into what you're selling or what you're offering, and you don't match that client properly. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. And I've been guilty of this myself in the past. And what you sort of, I think now, if I look back at it retrospectively, if a client comes in and they're like, oh, I've just seen this from Joe Wicks, and you go, Joe Wicks is a wanker, don't listen to a word he says. And then the next week they're like, oh, I've read this in the Daily Mail. You go, the Daily Mail is shit, don't believe a word they say. You go, oh, well, I was watching TV and there was a program about this. The BBC are fucking wankers, don't believe it. If you become that PT that is just anti everything, then I don't think it'll be long before you actually push the client further away rather than pull them towards you, because it's almost like it could appear to them like you're just deliberately finding fault with everything, and that you think that only what you say matters or should be listened to. Now that can come across as arrogance. And there's a very fine line between arrogance and confidence. And the one thing that people can say what they want about me, most of it true, or a fraction of the truth if they knew the truth. The one thing that fucking devastates me more than anything, if someone either hints at or says that they think I'm arrogant, it fucking kills me, because I'm not at all. I know how sort of shy and bashful and what's the word? What would be a good word? Like the opposite of arrogance. I know how, like, the lack of confidence. I know how much I suffer from imposter syndrome and stuff like that, or have done in the past. So if I ever say something, it's definitely not in an arrogant way. It's in a confidence manner that I've been doing this for so long. I've dealt with this problem so many times, and I'm confident in the last 999 times I've found a way of dealing with it. I'm confident in helping you for the 1,000th time. Now, I've had lots of conversations with clients. Like, let's say someone comes in and go, oh, did you see that program last night about weight loss? And I'm like, it was shit, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, you're so arrogant. You think you know everything. And I'm like, right, okay, hang on a minute. If you came in now and said, I don't know how to bleed a radiator, I wouldn't say to you, oh, you want to do it like this? I'd be like, I haven't got a fucking clue how to bleed. I don't even understand what bleed a radiator means. If you come in and you say there's an engine, there's cars making a noise, I have not got a clue how to fix it. If you want to know how to make a Yorkshire pudding, I'm not going to fucking tell you how to make a Yorkshire pudding, because I do not know. So there's like 99.9% of all of the things in the world, I have not got a fucking clue, nor do I pretend to have a clue how to help you with them. If I was pretending I knew everything about everything, that's arrogance. If somebody asks me a question and it is about personal training, or it's about exercise, getting a bit stronger, it's related to a kettlebell, or it might be the basics of weight loss, I am very, very confident in a very small number of categories that I've seen all of the charlatans. I'm aware of the common misunderstandings and misconceptions people have. And I'm pretty confident that now, after 15, 16 years, I've dealt with so many of the common problems so many times that I actually do feel confident enough to say that program that you watched wasn't telling you this, and this. That is probably worth you knowing before you think about X, Y, and Z. Does that sort of make sense? The delivery of that is key. That if you become the PT that's like, oh, that's shit, everything is shit apart from what I'm saying, then you look like a bit of a bellend. But if you can put yourself in their shoes and you can reframe things and you can sort of say, okay, I tell you what, I'll, rather than slagging off that program that I haven't seen, send me a link, or I'll watch it on catch up or iPlayer. I'll go and watch it, and then we'll have a discussion about it next week. And then the best thing to do is to give people a shit sandwich. So what a shit sandwich is two really good things, but a shit thing in the middle. So say something positive about Joe Wicks, then highlight the error of where he's made a mistake, and then finish on another positive. So you've got a shit sandwich. You're getting your point across, but you're not only slagging him off. He's getting people moving. Maybe hit isn't the answer for everybody, but at least he's got floppy hair and an irritating voice. Like, this shit sandwich. I had 2 layers of shit, didn't I? Yeah, I
that was a bit of a stretch. That was.
But you get my point. Like, it's that's something worth considering. And the other thing that I would mention there is the thing I mentioned in the last question is the James Bond thing, because James Smith, as an example, James shares a lot of really, really good content. Sometimes he goes really deep into like scientific areas because he probably doesn't portray his intelligence enough, but he's a fucking clever bloke, capable of debating with the best of them on very specific topics. But he's also funny as fuck, and he plays on that a lot more. But if someone watches a video that is very, very high end science, that's great. But where does that fit on Sharon's needs to know basis for right now? So if you can just sort of get her to understand, or him to understand, yes, this is well worth knowing. However, for you right now, this is where we're at, and this is the journey of where we're going to build to. And in 3, 6, 9, 12 months' time, then we can look at the specifics of whatever it is that's in question. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. I think it's always that horses for courses thing, isn't it? But
yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. And just remember, like, you can't please everyone all the time, so they're not always going to please you all of the time. And you don't have to be right about everything. Don't pretend to know everything about everything, but also don't be one of these miserable twats who just moans about everything just because you're probably not as successful as you might like to be. You just like go and see the positives in whatever it is that your client has brought to your attention. But for me, the most important thing is ask them to provide the source of information, and then go and look at it with an open mind. Take a backward step from not with your PT hat on, not with your like real fucking high-end level 4 specialist hat on. Look at it from the client's perspective. What is it that's interested them? Joe Wicks is a cracking example. There will be no end of PTs that will slag off what he delivers and how he delivers it. However, millions of people follow him and buy his products. So is the problem what he's delivering, or is he just filling a big gap that people want? People might want their information delivered in a fun and sort of immature, childlike manner. People might just want it to be delivered in a certain way. They might not. People are voting with their feet. Why are millions of people going down this route and only 7 are coming to you? Well, maybe you need to reframe what you're offering. Don't try to copy someone else, but can you change elements of what you offer and what you provide to give people what they want? Then once you have their attention and they think they're getting what they want, can you then tweak things throughout the journey so that they then realize that actually they thought they wanted to prance around the spare room doing HIIT training and putting coconut oil in everything? You've given them what they wanted, but then over time you've educated them to actually think, maybe what I really want is to understand calories, to understand macronutrients, and to understand the benefit of rehab and prehab and building my foundations in a good enough way to allow me to be able to do HIIT training more effectively without crippling me for 3 weeks afterwards. And that's like a difficult thing to do. Give people what they want, but then add in what they need and try to educate them along the way.
Boom. So that was another quick fire question from myself and Mark.
Was it under 20 minutes?
Maybe, but I'm not sure. Right, so for now, that's us done for today. I reckon we should keep those other questions in reserve, the ones that we've still got to answer for our
we've still got a good half a dozen, maybe 10 at least.
So I reckon we should probably aim to get those done before New Year, and then we'll have another guest on next week, which I think will be, well, anyway, it doesn't matter who it is, but I think we've got another guest coming next week, and then I think another one after that the same week. So we should have a podcast going out on Christmas Eve kind of time.
Yeah, we should have a guest going out Christmas Eve-ish. We've got another guest that we can put out New Year's Eve-ish, but we'll probably do it a different day maybe. And then we can always record another one, me and you, with the rest of these questions, chuck that in as a Brucey bonus.
Boom. Okay, so for today, thank you for your time again, Mark. It's always a pleasure.
No problem. It has been a pleasure from my miserable dog jumper. Look at that. How festive am I? Look?
It looks a bit like you, to be honest.
It does a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. It's the 3 chins.
It looks so arrogant. You know, that's the thing that I saw.
Oh, that is low.
More info, please. So, what I'll do is I will get this edited and we'll put this up. And then if anyone's got any questions, as always, they can always get in touch with myself. I can get in touch with you. Normally, Facebook message is best for me. Is it the same for you? Facebook is generally where you hang out?
Yeah, Facebook message or a pigeon with a note wrapped around its ankle. Send me a letter. Whatever works.
Game of Thrones style. Send a raven if you can.
Yeah.
Morse code.
If anyone wants to buy me a light bulb for Christmas, that would be lovely. Because I've just realised how dark it is.
So I'll get one Amazon Prime to you.
Boom.
I'll get you a giant novelty light bulb. Cool. All right. So until next time, boom.
Au revoir.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. Don't forget to check back weekly for new episodes. If you want to join the UK's largest Facebook group for personal trainers, just search for UK PTs.